Here we begin our last section of notes on the mollusks. This deals with the cephalopods, so we're looking at squids, octopus, and nautiluses. So for this class, they are all marine. They do not have a shell, or at least most of them don't. The squid and octopus, well, the octopus does not have a shell. The squid does have sort of a vestigial shell, and you'll see when we dissect our squid what it looks like. They are all fast swimming. They generally use jet propulsion or their feet, which are modified into arms and tentacles. So with their jet propulsion, they kind of use the water to move themselves around, and then their arms and tentacles do help them move. They can grasp, and it does help them move through the water pretty good. They are all carnivorous, and their radula is very well adapted. These guys are all predatory types of mollusks. So all of these mollusks have a head. That is why they're named Cephalopoda. Cepha, if you were to look that up on your cardstock, your yellow cardstock sheet, that means head. And poda or pod is relating to foot. So this is the class of the head-foot animals. And that's basically, if you look at this octopus, he's got a head and he's got his tentacles, which are his foot. So that's how they get their name. They do have very large eyes, and when we take a look at them, their structure is actually very advanced for this evolutionary group of animals because it's very similar to human eye, and you'll see what I mean when we take a look at them in our dissection. They are the only mollusks with closed circulation. Remember, closed circulation is when they have blood vessels to circulate their blood, and it has to be this way because they are a predatory species. They're fast moving, and it's more efficient to have a closed circulatory system. They're the only group with direct development. They don't have a Chromatophore larva stage. They have eggs and then tiny little octopuses and squids that hatch out. They don't have to go through any sort of metamorphosis. They are the most intelligent of the invertebrates. They have to think and plan, and I don't know if you've seen the octopus video where it knows how to squeeze itself through this man-made structure to get to the food. Maybe I'll have to look for it so you can see how intelligent they are. Most of the cephalopods will have 8 tentacles, and the tentacles have discs on them that help them grab and hold on to their prey. They're like little suction cups. The squid also have 2 long arms with suckers on the end, and they're called feeding tentacles. Many of the cephalopods are capable of changing the color in their skin. They use little structures called chromatophores, where they can change the chemical makeup in there, and it adjusts their color. It helps them blend into their environment. They are capable of producing ink, and the ink will cloud the water and confuse whatever is coming after them so that they can escape. And some of them can use bioluminescence to attract mates and scare off predators. This is the ability to glow in the dark. Now here's a side view of the structure of a cephalopod eye. Now if I had put this up and didn't tell you it was a cephalopod eye, you would probably assume it was a human eye, and you can see why. Their structure is very, very similar. They have a retina, and because they have a retina located the same way ours is, they can actually see images, and it's not like the animals that we've talked about so far. They have an optic nerve that helps them process what they're seeing. They have a lens so they can adjust the focus and be able to see clearly. They have a cornea that protects their eye. The iris, which is the colored part of the eye, they have that in common with humans as well. So it's a very interesting situation because they are so advanced for a very primitive group of animals. So you will be labeling the squid diagram, so make sure you're flipping to, I think it's on the 3rd page, your squid pictures. You will need to know the directions. It's very important that you remember what direction is which, because you will be cutting into the squid in certain areas, and if you're on the wrong side, you won't see what you're supposed to see. So when you look at the squid, you can see in the center of it, right between his eyes, is a siphon, and that's going to help you determine where his posterior surface is. When you flip him over, that would be his anterior surface. Where his tentacles and arms are located, that's the ventral, that's like the belly area on us, but ventral for him, and dorsal is where the fins are. Here's some more labeling. You've got the longer tentacles and arms. He has something called a collar, and when we look at our specimen, you'll see why it's called a collar. It kind of fits around him. You can see where the eyes are, the siphon, and his fins. Now inside at the top there, they're labeling something called a pen. And that's their rudimentary shell. So they don't have the shell covering the outside of them, but this shell kind of gives them structure interiorly. They do have ctenidia, a bronchial heart, and a systemic heart. You will be looking for both of them. Their internal shell is reduced, and just like I said, it's more supporting. You will have to identify whether your squid is male or female, so this is one of the diagrams that will help you. If you look, one of the factors on his exterior that you'll be able to see is the arm that he has, the Hectoctylus arm, and that's used for mating purposes. And when you look inside, you can see, you may not be able to see the penis. It is a rather small structure, but you should be able to find testes. And then we have the female. She does have ovaries with eggs, and if she's in season, she'll have a lot of eggs. But then you'll look for some of these other areas, the nidamental glands. They don't specifically tell you about them in the lab, so if you use this picture to help you identify if it's a male or female, that's where that would become helpful for you. All right, now we move on to the octopus. They do not have a shell at all. They have 8 arms with suckers. They can crawl or eject water from their siphon, and they have chromatophores in their skin, so they can change color, and they are the most intelligent invertebrates. So that includes insects too. They are the smartest invertebrate. So here you can see them using their chromatophores. They have pigments in the skin that help them blend in with their surroundings, and that way they don't get hunted as easily by predators. And then finally we have a nautilus. It's the only cephalopod that has an external shell, and it can have up to 94 tentacles. But these tentacles don't have suckers on them. They're just covered with a sticky mucus to help them catch their prey. And their shells will typically have many chambers. Some of it's for gas exchange, and some of it's just for space. And they tend to live in their outermost chamber. Here's some nautilus shells. You can see the chambers on the left-hand image because they've cut the shell in half. And then here's an extinct group of cephalopods. They're called the ammonoids. They lived during the Devonian and Cretaceous periods, about 400 to 65 million years ago, and they died out when the dinosaurs died out. Apparently the environment changed enough that they were not adapted for those changes, and they died out. So this ends our cephalopods and our whole mollusk topic. If you missed something or you just need to review things again, please go back and watch each of the videos to help you remember. There's a lot of information in this particular class, or in this particular phylum. So just, you have these videos at your disposal. Go back and check them out again.